Hitler's Ballroom by Salon magazine. When you consider the at least 3 attempts on the life of the president, a pattern starts to emerge where it looks like perfectly ordinary Americans were motivated to eliminate what they perceived as the most evil man alive. What is it about modern assassination attempts and actual murders by mass shooters that seems to be growing in prevalence in America's conversation? Didn't political differences used to be resolved by offering your ideas, your positive vision for what would be the best policies for America? We hear all the time from the president on what his ideas are for helping America and American citizens. He describes his plans. He says, this is why these are superior plans. And then you go to the other side and they tell you how much they want to murder President Donald Trump. Where did this attitude begin? I can't answer that, but I can take you to what I consider a great news aggregate. This is Real Clear Politics, and they show a balance of different news stories from different outlets. Some of them are contradictory, and they often group the contradictory headlines like Trump's China pragmatism is welcome, Trump's diplomacy has stalled, things like that. I saw an article by Salon magazine that caught my attention, so I thought I'd go there and read it. I know Salon is an online news service. This story is by Amanda Marcotte, Trump's Ballroom turning into symbol of his failures. So I thought this would be an interesting thing to just read through and explore. White House Ballroom is turning into a symbol of Trump's failures. The president's only legacy will be greed and corruption. This seems like a very odd way to introduce a story on a ballroom. I can think of no other president who, when he made modifications to the White House during his tenure, elicited such a headline. I mean, this is incredible to me. Legacy will be greed and corruption, but the ballroom is being constructed with private funds. It was, in fact, previous presidents who sent the bill to the American taxpayer for any modifications to the White House. Barack Obama, for instance, ordered the building of basketball courts at the White House, and no one objected to this. There are entire panels of federal judges that are being lined up to block the president from making an addition to the White House. Yet there were no federal judges showing up to block President Barack Obama from building a basketball court. And I want to just skip down to the end. Amanda Marcotte is a senior politics writer at Salon. Senior politics writer? Really? With a headline like that? Isn't a senior politics writer someone who's supposed to strike a balance and talk about how both parties have problems and both parties have bad leaders? There doesn't seem to be any attempt at balance from this person. I'm just absolutely amazed at the title of senior politics writer. Really? Let's see, we're talking about a podcaster, Eric Metaxas. I don't really care that much about a right-wing podcaster. I thought her ire was directed at the president. The right-wing podcaster, Eric Metaxas, can't actually build a ballroom. Should he really be the focus for such a story? Let's see if we can scroll down here. Oh, she's quoting another person who is not involved in the construction of the ballroom. This article has a really strange focus. Alright, here she says, liberal Christian comedian April Ajoy said that for God so loved the world that he sent his only son into the world to build a ballroom. Where was this sarcasm when President Barack Obama made his guests go into a temporary tent when he wanted to hold ballroom functions? We never saw anything like that with President Obama. Why is there a different attitude with the current president? Trump's ballroom is also a ham-fisted effort to conceal his inevitable legacy as the worst president the nation has ever seen. The president's hope of gaslighting Americans into forgetting the past will backfire. Whether the garish spectacle Trump envisions is actually built. What's different between this and President Obama's ballroom? I don't get it. Okay, so here's another attack angle they came up with. I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody, the president told reporters on May 12th. This is an actual lie by omission by Salon Magazine and Amanda here. Let's actually listen to what the president said.
When you're negotiating with Iran, Mr. President, to what extent are Americans' financial situations motivating you to make a deal?
Not even a little bit. The only thing that matters...
Okay, so it's very clear. Whatever she was talking about is a complete lie. If we were to go back to World War II, think of the onset of the war that was facing President Roosevelt. Imagine a reporter saying to him, "President Roosevelt, how dare you consider getting into World War II without considering all of the costs to the American taxpayers, all the hardships they would envision. You should cancel World War II, sir." I mean, no reporter would ever seriously have said that. In fact, the entire nation happily shouldered the burden of sacrificing in order to go to war to stop evil. So again, let's listen to what this reporter asked President Trump.
When you're negotiating with Iran, Mr. President, to what extent are Americans' financial situations motivating you to make a deal?
Not even a little bit.
So he's supposed to cancel the efforts to stop Iran from having a nuclear weapon, or else he's a bad person. So of course President Trump gave the correct answer. It's the same answer that President Roosevelt would have given. But they try to create these contrived fake quotes. I don't know what this has to do with journalism. The White House ballroom illustrates how Trump has destroyed the Republican Party by turning it into a cult devoted to himself. Oh, you mean like the Barack Obama tent ballroom? Decades of public displays of narcissism. Actually, public displays of narcissism seems to describe this article writer's attitude and that of Salon Magazine. The White House ballroom becomes a monument to Trump's failed presidency. Democrats are likely to take the House and quite possibly the Senate in the November midterms. This seems more like wishful thinking by this person and Salon Magazine. What does this have to do with the ballroom again? I really like this quote. Trump is setting records for presidential unpopularity. This is from 2023. 63% of Americans have an unfavorable opinion of the former president. Really? What were the final popular vote totals and percentages in the 2024 presidential election? 1 year later, Donald J. Trump won the 2024 national popular vote with 77.3 million votes over Kamala Harris's 75 million votes. So, in all times past, every news story was Trump setting records for presidential unpopularity. Just bear that in mind every time you see that. How did he win if he was always unpopular? Putting his name on an ugly ballroom won't erase this legacy of failure. So now it's the ballroom's fault. Since it's not even built, why is she characterizing it as ugly? It appears that this article writer didn't really seem to care anything about the ballroom or its merits, or really anything that President Trump has said or done or will do. Anything he does is characterized in the most evil terms possible. So the ballroom is now the enemy of America and the entire world because she says it is. This is where the White House ballroom, if it ever gets built, will land especially hard. It will be a huge, hideous, expensive gift to himself. So the ballroom is not only ugly, but it's hideous. It hasn't been built yet, so what are you talking about? Is it hideous inside your brain? Inside your skull there? What are you talking about? There is a sea of people calling on the next Democrat in the White House to simply bulldoze the atrocity if it is built. A move that is probably the right call. So this is how she concludes her op-ed. And she actually lets slip the truth there a little bit. She's basically telling you that the ballroom is evil because Donald Trump came up with it. I don't know how to interpret this level of insane hatred for the legally elected president who won the popular vote. These people are completely out of their gourd nutters. A ballroom is evil because the wrong man is building it. Good night and God bless.